Okay. Appreciate you watching on Instagram. What's going on? Facebook. We are live for the 413 Strong podcast. And it's been a minute. I've been in Las Vegas for the SEMA show, the SEMA conference, and it was an awesome time. My dad got me tickets this year. He's in the aftermarket auto industry. And of course, spectators can't join except on Friday, so I got to go in the show Thursday, and it was an awesome time. But in the fitness world, there was a different event going on last week, the Mr. Olympia, and that's what I want to talk about today is my thoughts, observations from the Mr. Olympia weekend as a father, as a coach, and as a Christian. Just some things I noticed and observed based on people's goals, my followers, my goals, and just some things I noticed. But first, I want to say this. I'm a little bit late starting the podcast today. I think I've learned don't train legs right before the podcast, especially when you've had a week off. So I hadn't trained legs in 2 weeks. And I was like Ivan Drago today. I was a little behind. Why was Ivan Drago always running behind? Because everywhere he went, he was rushing. But anyway, I'm not here to tell dad jokes. Let's get to this. I want to start doing a segment in the podcast, and I'm going to call this segment Regretful Remarks. Now, these are some comments I've received in usually a Facebook. Facebook seems to be the place for the quote-unquote negative comments. And I'm not doing this. I'm not going to give anybody's name. I'm not highlighting or defending myself. These are just comments I've seen. And I was like, you know what? First of all, I saw another podcast do this, and I can't remember who it was. But I was like, if someone commented this, and it's sad. It's usually people that don't have any followers. When they post something, it doesn't get a remark. And so I think they feel like they can just comment and just say whatever remark they want to anybody, and there's no consequence for it. But I want to talk about the content of what they're saying, because if they commented it, there's obviously people that believe this. And so this week's regretful remark goes as the following. It was on a video I did recently saying that the barbell bench press is, despite what some people say, a great exercise for building your chest. And in fact, if there's one muscle group I get complimented on the most, it is chest. And when people say, how did you do it? I'm like, barbell bench press. I mean, that is a fact. That is how I built my chest. So this individual said, flat bench builds a droopy chest. That was the first part of his comment. Well, let's address that right off the bat. Flat bench press does not build a droopy chest. A poor diet builds a droopy chest. You have a droopy chest because you have too much fat on your body. So you're kind of telling on yourself there, buddy. And by the way, with a barbell bench press, if you take a really wide grip, you'll only work like the outer pecs. Whereas, and I'm talking really bro-ish here, if you take a more medium grip, and I'm surprised how many guys don't implement this, if you take a more medium grip, it will work more the inner and upper pecs, which most people try to do with incline, and incline does do that well, but I think you're missing out if you don't do barbell. But anyway, so second part of his comment, flat bench builds a droopy chest and is the culprit behind most rotator and pec tears. No, my man, it is not the culprit. The culprit is you doing bench press with poor form. You pretending like your chest is a trampoline and bouncing the bar off your chest when you see how many times you can do 225, if you can even do that, or doing a 1 rep max every Monday for chest day. That's what causes rotator issues and pec tears. Also, stopping short and using an inconsistent range of motion, that causes pec tears. Why? Because I've seen it happen, and I've had rotator issues myself. Why did I have them? Poor form on the bench press, being sloppy, bouncing the bar off my chest. He said, everything about barbell flat bench is inferior to incline dumbbell or a slight I can't read my own handwriting here. A slight decline, I think he meant incline, of say 5 degrees. No. Here's why. And you're telling on yourself, brother. You're telling on yourself. If you're telling me you get a better workout with dumbbells than a barbell, then you're telling me how strong you're not. Now, I'm not saying, yeah, you can get a different kind of stretch, arguably better, arguably not, with dumbbells. But the dumbbells at most gyms only go up to 100. Okay? Whereas, think about what you can load up on a bar. There's so many reasons, and my video is talking about how barbell bench press allows you to add small incremental jumps instead of 10-pound jumps. But yeah, I like to address comments and just common misconceptions in my regretful remarks segment of the show. So let's get into the Olympia, man. Guys getting on stage in board shorts and or Speedos. First thing I want to say is I did a poll, and several polls that I used to get some data for this show. First thing I want to say is this. Congrats to Derek Lunsford for winning the Mr. Olympia. I think he's the 18th ever Mr. Olympia ever. The first one was Larry Scott, right? If I'm not mistaken. And then we've only had 18 since then. And when was the first Olympia? 1965, I believe. So that's an amazing accomplishment. But here's the thing I want to say about Derek Lunsford winning. It has nothing to do with his physique or if he should have won or Hottie should have won or Samson Dowda should have won. Derek gave a lot of praise to Jesus Christ in his winning interview and said he wants to help bring, how was it he worded it? A Christ-centered feel back to bodybuilding. And I thought that was really cool. Really cool. So I commend him for that. But I heard someone say this week, and I want to bring this up in the podcast. This is the second observation, and it goes along with Derek winning. As a Christian, how do you feel about someone participating in a sport where, as in the 50s, not 50s, 70s and 80s, doctors were prescribing steroids to the competitors? Arnold Schwarzenegger, did he take steroids? Yes, but he got it from a doctor. It was prescribed, pharmacy grade. Now, everything these guys use is black market, illegal, okay? How do you feel about a sport where, and make no mistake, everybody on the Olympia stage, male and female, is on thousands of dollars of, we'll say, pharmaceuticals each and every month just to compete? How do you feel about that? It's not legal. And I dare say the amounts these guys are taking, and girls, are not healthy, as evident as the amount of people we've seen pass away at young ages in the past 5 years in the sport. And this is not an issue that if you feel one way, it means you can't be a Christian, you're not saved or something. But I just think it's an interesting topic to bring up. And I'm going to have a whole separate podcast all about my thoughts on steroids, because at the end of the day, it's not about how you feel. Our society is all about feelings, and it's cringy. I don't like it. You can feel something, but we're not called to make decisions based on how we feel. As a Christian, your decisions should be based on the Word of God. What's the Bible say about it? And no, the Bible doesn't talk about steroids, but it may talk about harming your body. It may talk about obeying the law of your land. It may talk about other things that we could say are comparable to steroids, like alcohol. How did they handle alcohol? So there's some things to consider, and I'm going to cover that in another podcast. But I'm just like, how do you feel about that? Someone doing something like steroids and then saying, all glory to Christ. How do you feel about that? And I'm not saying how I feel. I'm just putting it out there. All right. Third thing I wanted to say, Chris Bumstead won again, 5-time Mr. Olympia. A lot of you have been like freaking out. I always have some people freak out when I post that picture of Chris Bumstead. He's gotten, and I want to say this, Derek Lunsford posted his winning post. Oh, I can't believe this happened, And then Chris Bumstead did the same. At the time, they were both posted late Saturday night when I checked, or maybe it was early Sunday morning. Derek Lunsford had like 150,000 likes. Woo, yeah, good for you. Bumstead had millions. And so it's amazing how Mr. Olympia is open bodybuilding. That's when they wear the skimpy, sparkly trunks that looks like women's lingerie. Or open building classic physique wears like the black Speedos basically, even though each year they seem to shrink. Chris Bumstead does classic physique. It's not supposed to be the main event, but Chris Bumstead is the most popular physique or bodybuilder athlete on the planet. Not even close. So I post that picture of me and Chris Bumstead every year, and it always gets like, whoa, what the heck, you met him? And like, yeah, I did, and he was super cool. We talked about his YouTube channel, but this was 2019, before he ever won the Olympia. It was the year he won the Olympia, I guess, for the first time, but it was in March, and he won the Olympia later that fall. So really enjoyed meeting him. He's not as tall. We were the same height, basically. He may have a quarter of an inch on me. He looks 6'3" on stage with those guys, but he's right at 6 feet. Maybe even, yeah, I guess he would be right at 6 feet. But, yeah, and I go into some of the polls I posted. I got some stats I wrote down here. In my polls, this was interesting to me, and I did this on my Instagram stories. 80%, I posted a picture of Chris Bumstead and Ramon Dino. 80%, close to 80% of the guys that voted in my poll said they would want to look like Chris Bumstead. About 15-ish% said no way, they would not want to look like that. And about 5-ish% said they would like to look like Chris Bumstead and Ramon Dino, but smaller proportions. So probably like a same proportions, but just like not enhanced, natural. So I thought that was interesting. 75% of you did not know the difference between what open bodybuilding, classic physique, and men's physique was. Real quick, and I mentioned this earlier, but men's physique wears the board shorts, and they're not supposed to hit poses where their hands go above their shoulders. It's like one hand on the hip and one arm, and a lot of people are like, why do they look like they're stirring the pot? I don't know. But that's men's physique, and then classic physique wears the Speedos. I asked in another poll, what do you train for? And this poll is still live. Most of you are saying, and you can go vote on that poll after this podcast, but most of you were saying you vote, or what do you vote for? You train. What do you train for? Most of you were saying you train for strength. And I think that was interesting because, for one thing, if you train for strength, it's really good to minimize what you do. And guys get stronger from spending less time in the gym, not more. I think a lot of people don't know that. And a lot of you, also put you train for muscle, but I think it's interesting to say that there's a time when you are training for muscle, like you want to look strong, not necessarily be strong. I think one of the best things to do, if you want to look strong, it's a good idea to actually be strong too. And I know there's a lot of evidence in scientific community, and Jeff Nippard would say, well, that's not the most scientific way to do, but for a busy person, especially someone like a dad that doesn't have time to do 2 a days, 6 days a week, or doesn't have time to put in all the volume it would take to maximize muscle or hypertrophy, just minimizing your time in the gym and focusing on getting stronger does a lot. I mean, a lot for your physique. I'm saying, like, You want a bigger chest, get a bigger bench press. You want a bigger back, get a bigger insert whatever row variation you want to do. If you want bigger legs, really hone in on a squat pattern and get stronger at that movement. And that there's a threshold, and you can get to a threshold where getting stronger actually can be a disadvantage because you have to do so much load, and you have to consider what can your joints and ligaments handle. But what I'm saying is 90% of the people that apply to work with me have not hit that strength threshold yet, and just getting stronger would do you a lot of good and really give you the results you're looking for. And the good news is that takes less time in the gym. And that leads me to this. Inspiration. One of my clients, David Eads, we were working out because he's local. And I think that, he said, we were talking about, how do you feel about watching Mr. Olympia as a Christian, knowing, kind of what I said earlier in the show. And, we basically said it's good to have inspiration. But I think there's a fine line. I see a lot of guys, and I see a lot of you that said you would like to look like Chris Bumstead. I just want to tell you right now, you will never look like Chris Bumstead because you don't have Chris Bumstead's muscle insertions that give some of his muscles an even bigger look. And you don't have Chris Bumstead's steroid cycle. And you shouldn't be on that. And even if you follow his videos and you do his workouts and you do his diet plan, following Chris Bumstead's diet won't make you look like Chris Bumstead, guys. This is Scotty Davenport, man. He said dream smasher. Absolutely, bro. And I'll get into Samson in a minute if you want me to. But yeah, if you follow these IFBB guys, you're not going to get their physique. But what you can do, I just smashed your dreams. Let me build them back up. What you can do is reach your best potential. And some of you have body parts, whether it's chest, whether it's quads. While one group may be weak, you'll never look like Chris Bumstead. You probably have a muscle group that does better than the rest. And you can grow it to its full potential. You can get it looking freaky compared to your other muscles. You can have huge biceps, huge chest, whatever, and still be very content, healthy, strong, and live a very fulfilled life. So I just wanted to say to all the guys that voted on my poll, they'd love to look like Chris Bumstead. That's fine. For inspiration, I personally would have voted, if I could have voted in my own poll, I wouldn't want to look like Chris Bumstead. Maybe similar proportions, but smaller. Actually, I don't even like his proportions that much. His shoulders are way oversized compared to like the classic physiques. But anyway, it's a whole different rabbit trail. But it's okay to be inspired, but don't get carried away comparing. And definitely don't get carried away watching the Olympia thinking you need to train like these guys. Because I'm surprised how much I see of that, and it's not going to give you the result you're looking for. I'm going to do a few quick fires, just a few more random thoughts. Okay. I did not like how Hadi Chupin walked off the stage. And I, to be completely honest, would not be upset if that kind of blacklists him from placing well in the Olympia again. I'm just not a fan of his look. I feel like Mr. Olympia should look like one of the best built physiques in the world. And I just never thought he represented that. Was he muscular? Yeah. Conditioned? Yeah. But it's not a good shape. Speaking of good shape, Scotty, I do think Samson potentially should have won just because of his shape. And I think, is Mr. Olympia a muscle building contest, or is it a who can get the most conditioned contest? I feel like it's a muscle contest. And if it's a muscle contest, Samson should have won. What is this? Oh, my goodness. That's great. That's a whole different topic, Scotty. I don't know about that. But another thing I want to say, and I'll end with this. Speaking of men's physique, I've got right here beside me what I call a vision board. It's just daily reminders when I sit down to work of what I want to focus on. It keeps me focused, keeps me motivated of why I'm doing this. And I've got different, I've got some health goals, got some fitness goals, some relationships, some family stuff. And one thing I have is a picture of me competing in men's physique in 2016 at my first show, surprisingly placing top 5 in a class of 12. I got 4th place. When I got called out in the first call out, it was like the best feeling. And beside it is a guy by the name of Ryan Terry. And under me, I have a picture that says, stick to the plan, meaning with my own fitness plan. Don't get program ADD and all this stuff. And then there's a picture of Ryan Terry, and it says lead by example, talking to myself. Because in the men's physique division, I have competed in men's physique before. I've always been a fan of Ryan Terry and how he carries himself as a professional. And Ryan Terry, for the first time, won the Mr. Olympia this year, and I was super happy for him, super pumped for him. So shout out to Ryan Terry as well. All right, but that's going to do it for today. It's check-in day in the club. Normally I don't do podcasts on Thursdays, but we had to rearrange the schedule a little bit. Appreciate you watching. And I want to say in 2024, in December, I'm making some changes in what I offer. And I'm going to make a post about that Monday. Just to be clear, because I still get people message me sometimes. Where's your gym located? Like, I'm a club, but I'm not a gym. It's an online community. And I do have members. So I just want to make a post explaining what I offer, because in 2024, actually starting in December, there's going to be 4 things I offer, 4 services I offer. I just want to be really clear about what those are to answer some of those questions and just to inform people as well. So if you're interested in becoming a member in the 413, what's up, Aaron? I got Aaron from Tampa. I have to get on him. He copies my content. Something I was kidding. More like the other way around, right? But if you are interested in joining the club, just send me a message, and I will get back to you about what your goals are, what that would entail, and the kind of results you could expect in the 413 Barbell Club. All right, but be on the lookout for that post Monday on what services I offer, and it's going to be pinned to the top of my social media pages as well for you to check out. All right, I hope you guys have a great day. Hope you enjoyed the Olympia recap. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. We'll talk to you.